The first time, I ignored it. The second time, I convinced myself it was nothing. The third time, it knew my name. My name is Dale Morrow. I've been driving plow for the town of Hartwick, Vermont for 11 years. Population 812. One gas station that closes at 9 p.m. One general store that's been run by the same family since 1953. A church with a steeple that needs repainting. A post office that doubles as the town hall. And 47 miles of back roads that need clearing every time the sky decides to dump another foot of snow on us. That's the thing about Vermont winters. They don't care about your schedule. Don't care about your plans. Don't care that you've got a wife waiting at home and a daughter who wants you to read her a bedtime story. When the snow comes, you plow. Simple as that. I know every curve on those roads, every hill, every driveway that's tricky to navigate in the dark. I know which culverts ice over first, which stretches get drifted shut within an hour of clearing, which houses have dogs that run into the road, and which ones have old folks who will wave at you no matter what time it is. I've done this job so long that I could drive the routes blindfolded. Could do it in my sleep. Probably have done it in my sleep some of those long nights when the snow just keeps coming and you've been in the cab for 16 hours straight. I thought I understood winter. Thought I understood what these mountains were capable of. And until last February, I thought I'd seen everything they could throw at me. I was wrong. Some things in these hills don't show themselves until they're ready. And when they're ready, there's no amount of plowing that can clear them away. It started on a Tuesday, February 11th, 2024. The forecast called for 8 to 12 inches overnight, which in Vermont terms means moderate inconvenience. I clocked in at 3 a.m., same as always, made coffee in the break room, checked my truck, filled the salt spreader. By 3:30, I was on Route 7 heading toward the back hills. The snow was coming down steady but not heavy. Visibility was maybe a quarter mile, standard stuff, and I had my thermos, I had my radio, and I had 12 hours of plowing ahead of me. I settled into the rhythm. Push, turn, salt, repeat, the kind of mindless work that lets your thoughts wander. I was thinking about my daughter's birthday coming up, thinking about whether to get her that bike she wanted, thinking about nothing important, and that's when I saw the figure standing at the side of the road. At first I thought it was a mailbox or a fence post or one of those reflector poles the county puts up to mark the edge of the road, something vertical that my headlights were catching wrong. The snow does that sometimes, plays tricks with the light, makes you see things that aren't there, makes things that are there look like something else entirely. But as I got closer, I realized it was a person, standing in the snow, at 3:45 in the morning, in the middle of nowhere, on a road that maybe sees 10 cars a day in good weather. Now, I've seen people out at strange hours before. Farmers checking on livestock, hunters heading out early, teenagers doing teenager things. But this was different. This person wasn't moving, wasn't walking anywhere, wasn't doing anything except standing there, perfectly still, like a statue, like they'd been there forever and would be there forevermore. I slowed down, rolled down my window. The cold hit me like a slap, -15 at least, cold enough to freeze the snot in your nose, cold enough to make your eyeballs ache. "Hey," I called out, "you okay?" The figure didn't move, didn't respond, didn't acknowledge me in any way. Just stood there. I couldn't see their face. The snow was too thick, the headlights were too bright, creating a halo effect that washed out all the details. All I could make out was a shape. Human-sized, human-shaped, wearing what looked like a heavy coat, standing perfectly, impossibly still. I grabbed my flashlight, opened the door. "Hey, you need help?" Still nothing. I took a step toward them, and they were gone. Not walked away, not ran, gone. 1 second they were there, the next, nothing but snow. I shone my flashlight where they'd been standing. No footprints, no impression in the snow, nothing. I told myself I imagined it. Tired eyes, snow playing tricks. It happens. You spend enough hours staring into white, your brain starts creating patterns, seeing things that aren't there. I got back in my truck, cranked the heat, finished my route. Didn't think about it again. Until the second time, 3 nights later. Same stretch of road. Same time, same figure. This time, I was ready for it. I slowed down before I reached the spot, watched carefully, and there they were, standing in the exact same place, same position, same stillness, like a photograph pasted onto the landscape. I stopped the truck, left the engine running, got out. "Who are you?" I called. My breath made clouds in the frozen air. The snow muffled everything, made the world feel smaller. Closer. "What do you want?" The figure raised one arm, slowly, pointed down the road, toward Brennan Hollow, a side road I never plow. Nobody lives down there anymore. The last family moved out in 1987. "I can't go that way," I said. "Don't ask me why I was talking to it. To them, whatever they were. That's not on my route." The figure lowered their arm and vanished. Same as before. No movement, no sound, just there, then not there. I stood in the snow for a long time, trying to understand what I was seeing, trying to make sense of something that made no sense at all. Eventually, the cold drove me back to my truck. I finished my route, went home, didn't sleep. The third time was different. Same road, same time, same figure. But this time, when I stopped, they didn't point. They spoke. Dale, my name, spoken in a voice that sounded like wind through dead trees, like ice cracking on a frozen lake, like something that had forgotten how to make human sounds and was trying to remember. Dale Morrow. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stand there and listen. Brennan Hollow. The voice again, closer now, though the figure hadn't moved. "They need you, Dale." "Who?" I managed. "Who needs me?" "The ones who got lost." "What ones? There's nobody down there." A pause, long and cold. "There is now." And then they were gone. But this time, they left something behind. Footprints leading down Brennan Hollow Road. I should have called dispatch, should have reported what I'd seen, should have done anything except what I actually did. But here's the thing about being alone at 4 in the morning in a Vermont snowstorm. You start to think that maybe the normal rules don't apply, that maybe you're the only person in the world, that maybe you have to handle things yourself because there's no one else who can. So I turned my plow down Brennan Hollow, following the footprints, into the dark. The road hadn't been maintained in decades, trees pressed in from both sides, branches scraped against my truck like fingers. The snow was deeper here, untouched, except for those footprints, leading me forward, leading me deeper. After about a mile, I saw lights. That was impossible. Brennan Hollow had been abandoned for almost 40 years. No power lines, no generators, no reason for anyone to be out here. But there they were, warm yellow lights glowing through the trees, like windows in a house, like someone was home. I stopped the truck, got out. The footprints led directly to the lights. I followed them and found a house. It shouldn't have been there. I knew this road. I'd driven past the turnoff to Brennan Hollow 1,000 times over 11 years. Never once had I seen a house. Never once had I seen lights. Never once had I seen anything except collapsed barns and stone foundations slowly being swallowed by the forest. The last family left Brennan Hollow in 1987. That was common knowledge around here. The Petersons, they just up and left one winter, didn't tell anyone, didn't leave a forwarding address, just vanished. People talked about it for a while, the way small towns do. Then they stopped talking. Then they forgot. That's how it goes in places like Hartwick. People come, people go, and eventually the forest takes back what used to belong to it. But here was a house, a farmhouse, 2 stories, white paint that looked fresh, not peeling, black shutters that looked maintained, not hanging from broken hinges, smoke rising from the chimney in a steady plume, lights in every window, looking exactly like it had been there forever, looking exactly like people lived there, looking exactly like it belonged. But it didn't belong, because this house didn't exist. It couldn't exist. I was sure of that, almost sure. The door opened. A woman stepped out onto the porch. middle-aged, brown hair, wearing a heavy sweater and an apron. She smiled at me. "Oh, thank goodness," she said. "We've been waiting for you." Waiting for me. "The road's blocked. We can't get out. The children—" She gestured behind her, and I saw them. Kids. 4 of them, standing in the doorway, looking at me with eyes that caught the light wrong. "They're so scared," the woman said. "We've been stuck here for days. No food, no heat. Please, can you help us?" I should have said no, should have gotten back in my truck, should have driven away and never looked back. But she seemed so desperate. The kids seemed so cold. And isn't that what the job is about? Helping people who need it? "Let me radio dispatch," I said. "We'll get a rescue team out here." "The radio won't work here," she said. "Something about the hollow. No signals get through." I checked my phone. No bars. I tried the truck radio. Static. Nothing but static. "Please," the woman said. "Just come inside. Warm up. Help us figure out what to do." I looked at the house, at the warm lights, at the children huddled in the doorway. And I walked up the steps. Inside, the house was warm. Too warm. The kind of heat that makes you drowsy. The kind of heat that makes you want to sit down and close your eyes and let everything else fade away. I'd been cold for hours, driving through -15 weather with nothing but the truck heater between me and hypothermia. The warmth of the house wrapped around me like a blanket, like an embrace, like something that didn't want to let go. The woman led me to the kitchen. It was exactly what you'd expect from a Vermont farmhouse kitchen. Wood stove in the corner, radiating heat, cast iron pans hanging from hooks, a smell of bread baking, of stew simmering, of home. She sat me at a table that looked 100 years old, scarred with use, worn smooth by countless meals, poured me coffee. The cup was warm in my hands, comfortable, familiar, like I'd sat at this table before, like I'd drunk from this cup before, like I'd always been here. The children gathered around, silent, watching, their eyes following every movement I made. There were 4 of them, 2 boys, 2 girls, ranging in age from maybe 6 to 12. They didn't move, didn't fidget, didn't do any of the things normal children do, just stood there, watching, waiting. "How long have you been stuck here?" I asked. "Days," she said, "maybe longer. It's hard to keep track." That should have been my first warning. Anyone stuck for days without food would be hungry, would be desperate, would be doing something other than standing around a table looking at a stranger. But I wasn't thinking straight. The heat was making me foggy. The comfort was making me careless. "Where's your husband? Partner?" "He went for help. 3 days ago. He hasn't come back." 3 days? In this weather? "He was worried about the children. Said he'd walk to the main road. Said someone would come." Her voice was calm. Too calm. Like someone reciting lines they'd practiced. I sipped the coffee. It tasted like nothing. Like water pretending to be coffee. Like something wearing the shape of coffee without any of the substance. "I'll get you out," I said. "My truck can handle the snow. We'll get you somewhere safe." "That's so kind of you, Dale." I froze. "How do you know my name?" She smiled. The same smile she'd given me on the porch. But now I noticed something wrong with it. The way it didn't reach her eyes. The way it stayed perfectly fixed. The way it never wavered or changed. Like a photograph of a smile rather than a real one. Like a mask rather than a face. "Everyone knows Dale Morrow," she said. "The plow driver, the helper, the one who always comes when people need him." I stood up. Too fast. The room spun. The warmth wrapped tighter. "I should go. But you just got here. I need to call for help. Real help." "There is no help, Dale." Her voice changed. Deeper. Older. Wrong. Like something speaking from the bottom of a well. Like something that had forgotten how to sound human and was trying to remember. "There's only the hollow, and the hollow takes care of its own." The children moved. All at once, blocking the door. Their faces hadn't changed, but their eyes had. Dark, empty, like holes punched in paper. "We've been waiting so long," the woman said. She was standing now, taller than before, or maybe I was shrinking. The hollow called to you and you came, just like the others. What others? The ones who got lost. She gestured to the window. Outside in the snow, figures were gathering, dozens of them, standing in the yard, watching the house, watching me. They came to help too. Now they stay, forever, helping the hollow. I ran. I don't remember how I got past the children. Don't remember getting out the door. Don't remember crossing the porch or stumbling down the steps. Don't remember anything except running through snow that grabbed at my legs and wind that screamed in my ears and cold that burned like fire. The house was behind me. The lights were still on, warm and yellow and welcoming. The door was still open, and the woman was standing on the porch, watching me run, not chasing, not calling out, just watching, with that smile that never changed, with that patience of something that knows you'll be back, that knows you can't really escape, that knows the hollow always gets what it wants. My truck was still there, engine still running, headlights cutting through the snow, like it had been waiting for me, like it knew I'd need to get away fast. I threw myself inside, slammed the door, put it in reverse, and drove. Branches scraped against the windows, trees closed in from both sides. The road seemed narrower than before, darker, longer, like it was trying to keep me there, like the hollow itself was reaching out to hold me. I didn't look back, didn't stop until I was on Route 7, didn't breathe until I saw the lights of Hartwick in the distance, the familiar glow of the gas station, the steeple of the church, real lights, real buildings, real world. When I finally pulled over, my hands were shaking so bad I couldn't hold the steering wheel. My whole body was trembling, not from cold, from something deeper. The clock on my dash said 6:47 a.m. I'd been in that house for 3 hours. It had felt like 15 minutes. I called dispatch, told them I'd gotten stuck. Mechanical trouble, radio malfunction. They sent someone to check on me. I didn't tell them what I'd really seen. Didn't tell them about the house or the woman or the children with empty eyes. What would I say? There's a house in Brennan Hollow that shouldn't exist. A woman who knows my name before I tell her. Children who don't blink. People standing in the snow who've been dead for almost 40 years. Nobody would believe me. I barely believed it myself, but I couldn't let it go. Couldn't stop thinking about it. Couldn't stop wondering if I had imagined the whole thing. So I went back the next day, in daylight, with a coworker named Ray. Told him I wanted to check on something. Told him I'd seen a structure down Brennan Hollow that needed to be reported. He didn't ask questions. Ray never asked questions. That's why I liked working with him. We drove down Brennan Hollow, all the way to the end, past the same trees, past the same curves, past the same stretch of road I'd driven the night before. There was no house, no footprints, no sign that anyone had been there in 40 years. Just snow and silence, and the bones of old buildings slowly returning to the earth, collapsed barns, stone foundations, trees growing through what used to be roofs, nature reclaiming what had once belonged to people. Ray thought I'd imagined the whole thing. Too much coffee, not enough sleep, the mind playing tricks. I wanted to believe him, I really did. But then we found the bodies, 3 of them, buried under a collapsed barn, frozen, preserved by the cold, a woman and 2 children. They'd been there since 1987, the year the last family left Brennan Hollow, the Peterson family. Except they hadn't left. They'd never left at all. They'd been right there the whole time, waiting to be found. Ray was the one who spotted them, said he saw something sticking out of the snow near the collapsed barn, a piece of fabric, blue cloth, faded by decades of exposure. We dug carefully, called it in, waited for the sheriff. The bodies were remarkably preserved. The cold had kept them frozen, kept them intact, kept them looking almost like they were sleeping. Almost. If you didn't look too closely at the frost on their eyelashes, at the blue tinge of their skin, at the expressions frozen on their faces. Expressions that looked almost peaceful, almost content, almost like they'd wanted to be there. The police said it was a tragedy, a family that got snowed in, tried to wait it out, froze to death before help could arrive. The Peterson family, the ones who moved away in 1987, They'd been under that barn the whole time, 37 years, waiting to be found. It happens more than people think in these mountains. Families get cut off, roads get buried, help can't get through. By the time spring comes, by the time the snow melts and the roads clear, it's too late. Case closed. Just another Vermont winter tragedy. Nothing supernatural about it, nothing unexplained, just the cold doing what the cold always does. But I know the truth. They didn't die waiting for help. They died because help came. Because someone like me drove down that road. Because someone stopped when they should have kept going. Because the hollow needed someone new. And every helper it takes becomes part of the collection, part of the trap, part of the light in the window that draws the next one in. Just like all the others. I quit the job 3 months later. Couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't drive those roads at night knowing what was out there. Knowing that somewhere in the dark, a house was waiting. A woman was smiling. Children were watching with empty eyes, and a voice was calling names. My wife thought I was having a breakdown. My daughter asked why I wasn't the plowman anymore. I couldn't explain it to them, couldn't make them understand. Some things you can't share with the people you love. Some things you have to carry alone. I live in Florida now. Haven't seen snow in 2 years. Haven't felt that cold in 2 years. Haven't heard the silence of a Vermont winter in 2 years. But sometimes, late at night, I hear it. That voice. Like wind through dead trees. Like ice cracking on a frozen lake. Whispering my name. Dale. Dale Morrow. We're still waiting for you. If you ever find yourself driving a back road in Vermont in the middle of winter, if you ever see a figure standing in the snow, if you ever hear a voice calling your name, don't stop. Don't help. Don't go where they're pointing, because some places take the helpers first, and the hollow never gives them back. There's an unspoken rule about the ice roads. Everyone who drives them knows it. Nobody talks about why. If you see another truck on marker 47, you don't stop. You don't wave. You don't radio. You keep your eyes forward and your foot on the gas. Because whatever you're seeing isn't really there. My name is Marcus Webb. I've been running loads across Lake of the Woods for 8 winters. That's the stretch of frozen lake between Minnesota and Ontario. 23 miles of ice road that only exists for about 3 months a year. The rest of the time, it's just water. Black, cold, bottomless water. But in the winter, when the temperatures drop low enough and stay there long enough, the lake freezes solid. Well, mostly solid. Solid enough to drive on anyway. Solid enough to haul 40-ton loads across if you know what you're doing. And I know what I'm doing. The ice roads aren't like regular roads. No guardrails, no lights, no shoulder to pull off on if you have trouble. Nothing between you and the black water below except a few feet of frozen hope and a whole lot of prayer. The ice groans as you drive over it, shifts and cracks in ways that make your heart skip. You can hear the water moving beneath you sometimes, gurgling, churning, waiting. It's terrifying the first few times. Then it becomes normal. Then it becomes routine. Then you forget to be afraid. That's when it gets dangerous. That's when people die. The ice road on Lake of the Woods is the most dangerous road in North America. They lose trucks every year. Sometimes the ice gives way. Sometimes the pressure cracks open up without warning. Sometimes the weather changes so fast that you're caught in a whiteout miles from shore. I've seen it all. Seen trucks go through the ice in front of me. Seen bodies pulled from the water, frozen solid. Seen good drivers make one mistake and pay for it with their lives. And I drove that road every week from December through March. I thought I understood the risks. Thin ice, pressure cracks. The cold that seeps through your clothes and into your bones no matter how high you crank the heat. But I didn't understand marker 47, not until last January. Not until I saw what really lives out there on the ice. January 19th, 2025. I remember the date because it was my son's birthday. I'd promised to be home by dinner. Promised to watch him blow out his candles. Promised I'd make it this time. I was hauling a load of mining equipment to a camp on the Canadian side. 40,000 pounds. Standard run. I'd done it 100 times. Left the depot at 6 a.m. and should have been across by noon. Plenty of time. The first half of the crossing was normal. Clear sky, calm wind, ice solid beneath my wheels. I was making good time, thinking about the cake my wife was baking, thinking about the look on my son's face when he saw his present, thinking about anything except the road. That's when I saw the other truck. It was about a quarter-mile ahead, stopped dead in the middle of the ice road. Hazards flashing, no movement, just sitting there. I slowed down, reached for the radio. "This is Webb, southbound at marker 46. I've got a truck stopped ahead. Anyone copy?" Static. Nothing but static. That was strange. The radio should work fine out here. We test them every morning. I tried again, more static. Then a voice, but not from the radio, from everywhere, all around me, inside my head. "Keep going, Marcus, don't stop." I looked around. No one there, just me and my truck and the ice, and the other vehicle ahead, getting closer. As I approached, I could see it better. An old Kenworth, red cab, white trailer, the kind of truck they haven't made in decades. Looked like it had been sitting there for a while. Snow piled up around the wheels, frost on the windows so thick you couldn't see inside, no exhaust from the stack, no vibration from the engine, no sign of life at all. Just sitting there, in the middle of 23 miles of frozen lake, like it had grown out of the ice itself. I checked my mirrors. Nothing behind me, nobody ahead, just me and this abandoned truck in the endless white in every direction. I should have kept driving. The rule is clear. Every driver who works these roads knows it. Marker 47, you don't stop. You don't look too closely. You don't investigate. You keep your eyes forward and your foot on the gas and you pretend you didn't see anything. I'd heard the stories. Every ice road driver has. Stories about trucks that appear out of nowhere. Trucks that don't show up on GPS. Trucks that belong to companies that went out of business 30 years ago. I always thought they were just stories. The kind of thing old-timers tell to scare the rookies. The kind of thing you laugh about over beers when the season's done. I wasn't laughing now. But what if someone was hurt? What if the driver was in trouble? What if they needed help? The radio was still giving me nothing but static. No way to call it in. No way to get back up. I was the only one out here. The only one who could check. I couldn't just leave them. I pulled over, left my engine running, climbed down from the cab. The cold hit me immediately. -30, easy. Cold enough that your nose hairs freeze when you breathe. Cold enough that exposed skin starts to burn after 30 seconds. I pulled my hood up, walked toward the other truck. The driver's door was open, just a few inches, like someone had gotten out in a hurry. "Hello?" I called. "Anyone there?" No response. I grabbed the door handle, pulled it open. The cab was empty, but there was something in the passenger seat. A photograph, old, faded, showing a family. A man, a woman, and a little boy, standing in front of a red Kenworth truck. The same truck I was standing next to. I turned the photograph over. On the back, written in pencil, "Peterson family, January 1987, final load." 1987, that was almost 40 years ago. How was this truck still here? How had no one found it? How? You shouldn't have stopped. I spun around. A man was standing on the ice behind me, dressed in winter gear that looked older than me. Heavy coat, fur-lined hood, face in shadow. I hadn't heard him approach, hadn't heard his footsteps on the ice, and hadn't heard anything at all. The wind should have carried his voice away, but I heard every word like he was whispering directly into my ear. Just suddenly, there, like he'd materialized out of the frozen air, like he'd been waiting for me to find him. "Who are you?" I asked. "Doesn't matter, not anymore." "Are you the driver of this truck?" "I was, a long time ago." "What do you mean? What happened?" "What always happens at marker 47. He stepped closer, and I saw his face. It was wrong. Not deformed, not injured. Just wrong. Like a photograph that had been left in the sun too long. Features faded, blurred, washed out. Eyes that should have reflected the gray sky but didn't. A mouth that moved slightly out of sync with his words. Like a badly dubbed movie. Like something wearing a face it didn't quite understand how to operate. "The loop catches people," he said. "Travelers, drivers, anyone who stops at 47. Catches them? What does that mean?" "It means they never leave. They drive the same stretch of road forever, crossing and crossing and never reaching the other side. That's insane, is it? He pointed behind me. I turned. My truck was gone. Not gone. Moved. It was back where I'd started. A quarter mile behind me, as if I'd never pulled over at all. What the hell? That's how it starts, the man said. You go back. You try again. You see the truck. You stop. You go back. Over and over. Forever. No, I'm getting out of here. I started walking, fast, toward my truck, toward safety. The man didn't follow, just called after me. You already tried that, Marcus. 17 times. You just don't remember. I reached my truck, climbed in, slammed the door, started driving. The engine roared. The wheels bit into the ice. I didn't look back. Didn't look at the man standing on the ice. Didn't look at the red Kenworth slowly disappearing in my mirrors. Just drove, eyes forward, foot on the gas, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my temples. The ice road stretched out ahead of me, flat and white and endless. Same as it always was, same as it was supposed to be. I drove, for hours it felt like. The same stretch of road, the same markers passing by. 43, 44, 45, 46, each one a small victory. Each one proof that I was making progress, that I was getting away, that the loop wasn't real, that the man had been lying, that everything was going to be okay. And then, there it was, the red Kenworth, stopped in the middle of the road, hazards flashing in exactly the same position, like I'd never driven past it at all. No. I drove past it, didn't stop, kept my eyes forward, kept my foot on the gas, kept telling myself it was a different truck. A coincidence, the ice road has lots of traffic, lots of old Kenworths. It wasn't the same one, couldn't be the same one. The truck disappeared in my mirrors. I exhaled, made it. 10 minutes later, another truck ahead, red cab, white trailer, hazards flashing. Same position, same angle, same everything. No, I drove past again. Faster this time, heart pounding, hands shaking. I didn't look, didn't stop, didn't slow down, just drove. 10 minutes later, red cab, white trailer, hazards flashing. I screamed, slammed the brakes, spun the wheel. The truck fishtailed on the ice, slid sideways, stopped. I sat there, breathing hard, trying to think, trying to understand. This wasn't possible. This was the same stretch of road, the same markers, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, over and over, looping, endlessly looping, the man's voice again, in my head, in the air, everywhere. 18 times now, Marcus, how many more? I closed my eyes, thought about my son, his birthday, the candles, the cake, the promise I made, the look on his face when he realized I wasn't there. Again, like every other time, like every other promise I'd broken. I couldn't do that to him again. I had to get home, had to break this loop, had to find a way out, even if it seemed impossible, even if the man said it couldn't be done, even if 17 versions of me had already failed. I opened my eyes, and I saw it. Something I'd missed before, something different. A crack in the ice, running perpendicular to the road, not wide, maybe 6 inches, but visible, different. Something new in a world that had become nothing but repetition. It shouldn't have been there. The ice was solid, the road was maintained. Cracks get filled, get fixed, get smoothed over, but this one was there, like a seam, like a boundary, like a door. I turned the wheel, drove toward the crack. The man appeared in my headlights, standing directly in my path. Don't, he said, but he wasn't warning me. He was begging. His face had changed, more faded than before, more desperate, more afraid. Please don't leave us here. Behind him, I saw others, dozens of them, figures standing on the ice, emerging from the white, drivers, travelers, people who had stopped at marker 47, people who had been trapped in the loop, people who had been driving this stretch of road for years, decades, forever, men in modern winter gear, men in clothes from the 70s, men in clothes I didn't recognize at all All of them watching me, all of them pleading, all of them wanting what I had, a way out. "I'm sorry," I said, and I drove through them. The crack in the ice wasn't a crack. It was a boundary, the edge of the loop, the seam between whatever pocket of wrong reality had trapped me and the real world that existed beyond it. As I crossed it, the world shattered, not literally, but something broke, something gave way. The sky flickered, like a TV losing signal, like reality hiccuping. The ice groaned beneath my wheels, a sound like nothing I'd ever heard, like the lake itself was screaming. The endless white landscape fractured into pieces. The figures behind me faded. The red Kenworth disappeared. And then I was through. The road ahead was different, real, solid. I could feel it in my bones. This was the actual ice road, the one that existed, the one that led somewhere. Marker 48, then 49, then 50. Progress, actual progress, each marker a confirmation that I'd escaped, that the loop was behind me, that I was going to make it. I made it to the other side, delivered my load, called my wife from the depot, drove home as fast as I safely could, arrived at 8 p.m., 6 hours late. My son had already blown out his candles. The cake had been cut. The presents had been opened. I'd missed it. Again, but I was home. I was alive. I was free. And I held my son so tight, he complained I was hurting him. I didn't care. I just held on. Because I knew how close I'd come to never holding him again. That was a year ago. I haven't driven the ice road since. Can't bring myself to. The company tried to get me back, offered more money, better benefits, a guaranteed route that didn't go near Marker 47. I said no, told them I was done, told them I'd found work somewhere else. The truth is I haven't worked at all since January. Can't seem to focus, can't seem to care about normal things, can't seem to stop thinking about what I saw out there, about the people I left behind. Because sometimes, late at night, I hear them, the people in the loop, calling my name, asking why I left them behind, asking why I got to escape when they've been driving that same stretch of road for 30 years, 40 years, longer. And sometimes when I'm driving on regular roads in regular weather, in regular places, I see it, just for a second. A red Kenworth, stopped on the shoulder, hazards flashing, and I keep driving. I always keep driving. Because I know what happens if you stop. Because I know what's waiting at Marker 47. Because I know that the loop is still there, still catching people, still holding them, and it never forgets a face. If you ever drive the ice roads, if you ever see a truck at Marker 47, if you ever feel the urge to help, don't. Keep going, no matter what you see, no matter what you hear, no matter who's calling your name. Some roads don't have endings, and some loops don't let you go twice. I recognized him immediately. The problem was, I'd watched him die 3 weeks earlier. My name is Sarah Chen. I've been ski patrol at Monarch Mountain in Colorado for 6 years. Before that, I was an EMT in Denver. Before that, I was a ski bum working lift operations for minimum wage and a season pass. I've always loved the mountains, the way they make you feel small, the way they remind you that nature doesn't care about your problems, the way they strip away all the noise of everyday life and leave you with just the essentials, you, the snow, and the slope. Nothing else matters when you're carving down a fresh powder day. Ski patrol was the perfect combination of my two loves, mountains and medicine, helping people and skiing. Fresh powder every morning before the lifts open. Beautiful views that never get old, no matter how many times you see them. The satisfaction of helping someone who got hurt on the slopes. The brotherhood of people who understand what it means to dedicate your life to a mountain. I thought I knew Monarch, knew every run, every trail, every back bowl and hidden glade. I'd skied this mountain in every condition. Bluebird days, heavy snowfall, ice so hard your edges barely bit, powder so deep it came up to your waist. I thought there was nothing Monarch could show me that I hadn't seen before. I was wrong. There are places on this mountain that aren't on any map, and things that live in those places that shouldn't exist, things that wait in the whiteout, things that wear the faces of the dead. It started with a whiteout, January 27th, 2025. We'd gotten 18 inches overnight. The morning was clear, but by noon, the clouds rolled in. By 2 p.m., visibility was down to 50 feet. By 3, we couldn't see our hands in front of our faces. Standard procedure in a whiteout is to close the mountain, get everyone down, sweep the runs to make sure no one's left behind. That's what I was doing when I found him. His name was Thomas Reeves, 23 years old, from Boulder, intermediate skier with maybe 50 days on snow total. The kind of guy who was good enough to be confident, but not good enough to handle real adversity. He'd gotten separated from his group in the storm. They'd been doing a run on the front side when the whiteout rolled in. 1 minute visibility, the next minute, nothing. His friends made it to the lodge. He didn't. They waited an hour before reporting him missing. By then, the storm was too thick for a helicopter search. We had to go on foot, on skis, through visibility that sometimes dropped to 0. I found him in a back bowl that wasn't part of the trail system, a place where nobody should have been. He'd probably gotten disoriented in the whiteout. Thought he was heading down when he was actually traversing across the mountain, ended up in terrain he had no business being in. That happens more than people think. Snow blindness, spatial disorientation, the way a whiteout makes up feel like down and down feel like nothing at all. He'd skied right off a cliff. Probably couldn't see it coming. 1 second he was on snow, the next second he was in the air. By the time we reached him, he'd been lying at the base of that cliff for at least an hour, maybe longer. His skis were still attached. One pole was still strapped to his wrist. He'd never even tried to stop. Never even knew it was coming. We did everything we could. Core temperature was down to 87 degrees, pulse barely detectable, pupils fixed and dilated. We packed him in warming blankets, started chest compressions, called for an emergency evac. The helicopter came in low, barely above the ridgeline, pilot risking his own life to save someone who was probably already gone. We loaded Thomas into the basket. I rode with him, held his hand the whole way to Gunnison, watched the medical team work on him, watched them try everything, watched them fail. They called time of death at 3:22 p.m., January 27th, 2025. I was there. I saw his face, saw his eyes open and empty, saw the frost still clinging to his eyelashes, saw the blue tinge of his lips that comes from hypothermia. I knew he was dead. I was certain of it, as certain as I've ever been of anything. So when I saw him standing on the mountain 3 weeks later, I thought I was losing my mind. February 19th, another storm, another whiteout, another sweep. I was working the back bowls, the same area where we'd found Thomas. I'd requested a different assignment, told my supervisor I wasn't comfortable with that terrain anymore. He said we were short-staffed, said everyone had to pitch in, said it was just a sweep, just a quick check to make sure no one was left behind, said I'd be fine. I wasn't fine. Visibility was maybe 30 feet, sometimes less, snow coming down sideways, wind howling so loud I could barely hear myself think, the kind of storm that makes the world disappear. That makes you feel like you're the only person left on Earth. That makes you question whether there was ever anyone else at all. I was following the ridgeline, checking the usual spots, the places where lost skiers tend to hunker down, the trees that provide shelter, the rocks that block the wind, the gullies where you can wait out a storm if you're smart enough to stop moving. And that's when I saw him, a figure standing at the top of the same cliff, the one Thomas had skied off, the one that had killed him, looking down at the exact spot where we'd found his body. I called out, "Hey, ski patrol, you need to get off the mountain." The figure didn't move, didn't turn, didn't acknowledge me at all. I skied closer, calling again. "Sir, can you hear me? The mountain's closed." No response, just standing there, staring down at the spot where Thomas had fallen, where Thomas had died. I got within 10 feet, close enough to see his face. It was Thomas, same features, same jawline, same birthmark on his left cheek. Same everything, except his eyes. His eyes were different, not empty like they'd been in the helicopter, but not alive either. Something in between, something wrong. "Thomas?" He turned to look at me, slowly, like he'd forgotten how to move, like his body was a machine he was still learning to operate. "Thomas Reeves? You..." You died? 3 weeks ago, I was there. He smiled, a smile that didn't reach those wrong eyes, a smile that looked practiced, rehearsed, like he'd seen humans smile and was trying to imitate it. Did I? His voice was strange, flat, monotone, like he was reading from a script, like the words were sounds he was making without understanding what they meant. I don't remember dying. I saw you at the hospital. They called time of death 3:22 p.m. Then why am I still here? I didn't have an answer, didn't have an explanation, didn't have anything except the growing certainty that whatever was standing in front of me, it wasn't Thomas Reeves. Not anymore. Maybe it had been Thomas once. Maybe some part of Thomas was still in there somewhere. But what I was looking at now, what was standing in front of me in the middle of a whiteout, 3 weeks after I'd watched him die, that wasn't human. That wasn't alive. That was something else entirely. You should come with me, I said. We need to get off the mountain. My voice was shaking. My hands were shaking. Everything was shaking. No. The storm is getting worse. It's not safe up here. Safe? He tilted his head. What does safe mean anymore? Thomas, please, let me help you. You can't help me. No one can help me. I'm not Thomas anymore. Then what are you? He turned back to the cliff, looked down at the spot where his body had lain. I'm what the mountain made, what it kept, what it wears when it wants to walk among the living. I don't understand. You will, if you stay, if you look, if you let it take a piece of you like it took a piece of me. I can't leave. Why not? He turned to face me again, those wrong eyes meeting mine. Because I'm still there, part of me, the part that matters. The mountain keeps it, feeds on it, uses it to make things like me. I followed his gaze. I followed his gaze, through the swirling snow, down to the base of the cliff. And I saw something, a shape, in the snow, where there shouldn't have been anything at all. What is that? Me, Thomas said. The real me, what's left of him. But we recovered your body, the helicopter. Recovered something, but not all of me. The mountain kept a piece. I started to ski toward the cliff edge to get a better look. Thomas grabbed my arm. His grip was cold, colder than the storm, colder than anything I'd ever felt, colder than the dead bodies I'd helped carry down the mountain, colder than the snow Thomas himself had been buried in when we found him 3 weeks ago. It wasn't the cold of winter. It was the cold of nothing, the cold of absence, the cold of something that had forgotten what warmth was. Don't look. If you look, you'll see. And if you see what? What really lives here. What's been living here since before the resort, before the town, before anyone called these mountains home. I don't understand. You will, if you look. But once you see it, it sees you back. I should have listened. Should have turned around. Should have skied away and never looked back. But I couldn't. I had to know. Had to understand. Had to see what was at the bottom of that cliff. I pulled away, skied to the edge, looked down, and I saw. At the base of the cliff, half buried in snow, was a body. Thomas's body. Still wearing the same clothes he'd worn when we found him. Still frozen in the same position. Still there. As if we'd never recovered him. As if the helicopter had never come. As if the past 3 weeks had never happened. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what was around him. Not just one body, dozens, stacked on top of each other, layer upon layer upon layer, frozen, preserved, some of them fresh, some of them old, some of them so old they'd become part of the mountain itself, bones mixed with rock, flesh merged with ice, clothes from decades past, gear from eras one only recognized from old photographs, wooden skis, leather boots, clothing styles I'd seen in history books. But the eyes, God, the eyes, all of them, every single one, still open, still staring, still watching, looking up at me with something that wasn't quite death, something that wasn't quite life, something in between, something aware. The mountain keeps pieces, Thomas said behind me. It's been doing it for a long time, longer than the resort, longer than the town, longer than anyone remembers. What does it do with them? It wears them, learns to be them, walks around in their shapes. He gestured to himself. Like me. I'm just a shape now, a memory it's wearing. I don't have thoughts anymore, not real ones. Just echoes of who Thomas used to be. I turned to face him. Why are you telling me this? Because you looked, because you saw, because now you're part of it too. Part of what? The collection. He reached out, put his cold hand on my shoulder, and I felt it. Something pulling, something taking, a piece of me separating, drifting away, becoming part of the mountain. I screamed, pushed him away, skied faster than I've ever skied in my life. Through the whiteout, through the storm, down the mountain. I made it to the patrol station, collapsed inside, told them I'd gotten disoriented in the storm. Didn't tell them what I'd really seen, what I'd really experienced. They wouldn't believe me. I barely believed it myself. But I know the truth now. I know what lives on that mountain. I know what happens to people who die in those back bowls. The mountain doesn't let them go. It keeps them, wears them, becomes them, and walks among the living in shapes that don't belong to it. I still work patrol, but I don't do sweeps in the back bowls anymore. Can't bring myself to. Every time they ask me, I find an excuse. Bad knee, not feeling well. Need to stay at the patrol station. Anything to avoid going back to that place. Anything to avoid seeing those figures in the whiteout. Because sometimes when the storms roll in, I see them. Figures standing on the ridges, watching the skiers below, wearing faces of people who died years ago, decades ago, centuries ago. People the mountain has claimed, people the mountain has kept. People who will stand on those ridges forever, waiting for the next person to look too closely. And sometimes I feel it. That piece Thomas took from me. Still connected to the mountain, still pulling, still trying to bring me back. I wake up some nights and find myself at my front door. Keys in hand, car packed, no memory of how I got there, no memory of deciding to drive to Monarch, but knowing that's exactly where I was going. My therapist says it's PTSD, survivor's guilt, the trauma of watching someone die. She says my brain is trying to process what happened, and I'm trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. She's probably right. I hope she's right, because the alternative is that part of me really is still on that mountain, and it's only a matter of time before the rest of me joins it. If you ever ski at Monarch Mountain, if you ever get caught in a whiteout, if you ever see someone standing where no one should be standing, don't go to them. Don't try to help. Don't look too closely, because some mountains are hungry, and once they've tasted you, they never stop wanting more.